CEO Ronald Hicklin from Creating the Difference. We're going to talk today a little bit about the new Motiv Evoke bowling ball. What's cool is I've actually got two Evokes because we're going to talk a little bit about drilling and kind of how it impacts this core shape in particular. I'm going to show you the bowling balls right now and let you see what they look like. We've got a pin up and a pin down. What's interesting about these bowling balls is the pin up ball is actually 55 by 4.5 by 20 degrees, whereas the pin down ball is 55 by 4.5 by 65 degrees. Now, why did we do that? Well, specifically, Motiv said, hey, look, you can change the differential in this ball, which is the flare potential, by quite a bit, 25%, depending on that second angle, that VAL angle. That's why we did a 20 versus a 65. Everything else is the exact same. We're going to look at that and kind of see. We're even going to measure the flare potential, and we're going to do some other little things that are a little bit different than typical ball reviews. One of the things that we did was we wanted to check the hardness of this bowling ball. The hardness of this bowling ball is actually 75 on our Shore D scale. Now I'm going to grab one of these bowling balls real quick, and we're going to scan it. We're going to look at the scan using a CTD surface scanner. Now Motiv surfaces their bowling balls, and they say that this bowling ball from the factory is right around 2,000 grit, so we're going to use a CTD surface scanner, and we're going to scan it, and you can see we're getting right around that 1,500 to 2,000 grit range. The RG of this bowling ball is 2.48. The differential is 0.050, and the mass bias or intermediate differential is 0.015, which is 15, which, interestingly enough, is kind of right more in the middle. The RG is fairly low, and the differential is fairly high. So this bowling ball is made for heavier oil conditions. They've got a strong cover stock on it. The cover stock is actually called Leverage MXC Solid. And they put an additive in this bowling ball that's supposed to make this ball resist the lane shine compared to some of the other balls. We're actually going to do a little bit of looking at that property too, just to kind of see how well the ball holds up through being bowled, and if it does have in fact a longer transition between the 2,000 grit that we're kind of reading now to moving its way up. Now all bowling balls over time will end up at about 4,700 or stable grit as we like to call it, but this bowling ball supposedly will take a little bit longer to do that. Be interested to find out that as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm probably going to start with the pin-up bowling ball first. We're going to throw some shots, we're talking about the ball motion, and we're going to kind of see exactly what the Motiv Evoke is all about. We'll start with the pin-up ball here, throw some shots, see how it rolls. Well, it hooks, and it's bright. I'm also going to take a look at the flare right now with that first shot. That's like the last line right there. So this ball is like right at 6.5 inches of flare, so that's a lot. That is a lot. I'll throw the pin down ball now too once, just so we can do a quick comparison. First line, this is ending right here. Right there is the last line. So that's going to be 5 1/4. 5 1/4. So there is a difference. All right, back to the pin-up ball, and we're going to throw it. See what happens. It hooked a lot, so we got to move. That's a pretty good pitch. Yeah. Bright colors. Looks good. This ball definitely appears to be in the continuous category. I mean, if you watch, it hooks pretty much in the middle portion of the lane and then keeps going. So right there it's going to go, and it just keeps going. It's good. Got that one in a little bit. Yeah. There's some room for error there. That's good. Let's take a peek at that real quick. I just want to see. I was in by about 2 boards. So maybe you can see that. If you can't, you can definitely tell that there's some difference there. I'm going to clean that off, actually. So I will clean all of it off. You know, when you're bowling on a house pattern, which is what we're bowling on right now, you want some room for error. And this ball is definitely, at least initially, showing that you can get that with it, which is good. That's kind of a good thing about continuous balls. If you miss in, they still kind of want to pick up. Where they fail is when you miss left. That was just a good pitch. I think this is going to be a ball that people look at and they're either going to immediately fall in love with it or they're not. I personally don't care as long as it strikes. That one's in again. Man. Let me show you the miss there, because that was definitely in. That one's in again. So, at the hand, it's pretty much on spot, but I knew I missed, and so that means the launch angle wasn't the same. And there, yeah, it's 2 boards. It's 2 boards right. 2 boards right down lane, and that is the difference. But both those shots struck, which is good. And you can see off my hand, these balls are pretty much the same, but the reason why they're different down lane is the launch angle, which means they weren't thrown exactly the same. They were thrown on the same line, but at different angles, and that's what happens, right? Now that one's far right, or far left. Okay, good. Just wanted to see what would happen there. Obviously too far left. And that is gonna be the downfall of the continuous ball, because that was obviously too far left. But the reason why I say downfall is because the continuous ball is better when it can pick up a little bit enough to give you the carry. But when you miss too far left, in my case, because I'm left-handed, it's not going to be able to recover nearly as well. That's where an angular ball would be way more desirable, because the angular ball would recover that way. That's just a little bit left. That's what I mean. That's a perfect example of what I mean. So if that was an angular ball, that's a strike. But because it's continuous, it can't create enough angle to make up for the miss to the left to be able to get the ball to come back. That'll come back. Just a little bit stronger, I'm gonna throw, I think, one more shot, and that'll be a full game. Now I say full game, we're not shooting spares here, but it'll be a full game comparatively to our no tap, if you will. Yeah. Okay, I want to check the surface again now. This is technically a game. So I'm going to wipe it off, and I'm going to check the surface of the bowling ball. I always like these color bowling balls because they get dirty and you can see it, and when they get dirty, that means you need a ball cleaner. All right, so I'm getting 3,000 grit now. I'm gonna move it around on the ball as well. All right, let's switch balls. So we're gonna see now, let's look at the lane real quick. I wanna look at the lane really fast. Obviously that last shot was pretty bad, but nonetheless, you can kind of see the area there. You know, I'm kind of right over that second arrow, which is kind of a cool thing for lefties. It's just common. But look at how it's playing compared to the pattern, right? So if you look at the pattern that's on there, which is the house pattern, you can see I am just to the left of the high amount of oil, which is what you want to be. That allows me, when I miss right, for my ball to push down just a little bit longer and for me to still be able to carry. That's a big deal especially when you're using a ball that's like this. Now, we're gonna see, I'm gonna clear all this off, and we're gonna see exactly what happens when I use the pin down ball. Now the pin down ball flares a little bit less, so what that means is I'm gonna be able to get a little bit more length actually down the lane before it begins to make the move. And you'll see that, I mean, you'll see that when we throw the bowling ball, but the more flare you get, the earlier the ball's gonna wanna begin to pick up. So now we'll use the pin down one. Flares a little bit less. We're gonna stay in the same part of the lane and just kind of see how this one rolls. So a little bit cleaner and a little bit more down lane, and that's just because I've got less flare. I feel like, honestly, with this one, I'm actually going to be able to miss a little bit further left, or when I miss a little further left, I have a better chance for it to recover, but I also feel like when I miss in, I'm probably a little more prone to 7 pin. Not bad, not bad. This ball's good, man. Like, it's good from what it's supposed to do. Left. Oof. Oof. So, that one's 3 boards left. I got around that maybe a little bit more because she went sideways. I got 5. We have 6 pin no tap, and I got 5. Will that be the manual reset? Anyway, okay. All right. Good shot. So just in throwing these two, there's a few things that come to mind immediately. One is that I believe that this one is a little more responsive to the friction. I think, let's throw a few more shots. That's good. Yeah, so like I feel like this one for sure is a little more angular, a little more whippy, a little more aggressive through the pins, which is what it's showing. But what's funny is I think I could probably strike with the other one, the pin up one, more. Because this one, when you miss, you're probably going to pay a little bit more, especially if that misses in. That's left. But that's also 10. That's what I meant. Like, the lower diff, lower flare, gonna push a little bit longer, can still recover a little bit more because the ball's a strong ball. And that's why, like, with the other ball, the pin-up ball, if I threw it there, it's not striking. Matter of fact, let me just make sure. We ain't gotta talk about it, we can be about it. Some 3 left. Yeah, it has 3 left. And actually, just looking at the lines down there, what's kind of cool about that is in general, these shots are a little bit further to the left relative than the pin-up ball. I've got some in the exact same spot as the pin-up ball, but just a little bit further left. There's a couple that I've leaked out there, and we're watching it really, really recover, which is probably counterintuitive to what you've heard before about pin-up, pin-down balls, but that's why I like doing this, because it's not about what you think. It ends up being what is fact and what you can actually see. And like I said, Motiv has really touted the fact that you can change the diff significantly with this particular bowling ball. One of the things that I was concerned with was potentially clipping the holes, because as you begin to move that pin down, you can make it more prone to clip holes. I'm not clipping the hole at all on this bowling ball, so that's a good thing. But you definitely need to make sure if you're going to drill a pin down ball that your pro shop knows your positive access point, because that will definitely tell them whether or not you are going to clip the hole. see, like, it definitely is, this is definitely the more angular of the two bowling balls, but because of that, it's also going to be the one that's a little more finicky when you miss. Drop some comments, man. Like, I respond to these comments, and we're shooting this video at a great time for you to be able to do that. Maybe even share it with your friends. We're trying some different things over here. Better reviews, more in depth, more wrap 7 pins. You know, we'll give it all to you. Yeah, and that's what I mean. So here's what's funny. I actually like what I see out of this ball, but I know I'm striking a whole lot more with the pin-up one. If I'm going to bowl a tournament and I need the strikes, I'm probably going to grab the other ball. But that's good because that's showing you that there is some difference here. And kind of what that difference is based on what they say they've done with the core shape. So that one, I really was able to get around it, and I was able to send it left, and it came back. I'm just kind of beating up the same area, and that's why it's doing the same thing. I'm gonna move into the oil. I'm gonna erase all of that off. I'm gonna move into the oil a little bit more. Since this ball is a little bit cleaner and a little more down lane, with me moving in, show you the performance there. Oof, that's nice. That's nice. And I actually thought that was going to push a little bit too long, but it didn't. It definitely didn't. I'm going to grab the pin-up ball, and I'm going to throw it in the same spot. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Let me look at those two shots in the dark. So down lane, those shots are nearly identical. They are less than a board apart at the front, and down lane they're dead on top of each other. And now what's cool is the pin reaction, right? You saw the pin reaction there. Pin reaction was different. And you say, well, which one would you want to have? So in this particular case, either one would work fine. They both struck, but I actually liked the pin up because I know, being in more oil, that ball is going to be able to last a little bit longer. I'm going to be able to throw some logs a little bit longer. I'm going to be able to strike a little bit longer with that particular bowling ball. Okay, so now I've polished up the pin down ball and sanded down the pin up bowling ball. We're going to show you the performance difference with some different surfaces along with these pin positions. Now, here's what's interesting. Because we polished right over top of the existing finish, we're going to get somewhere near 5,500 grit instead of 6,500 grit. If you wanted to get 6,500 grit, we'd have to go 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, or P5000D and then polish it to be able to get to 6,500 grit. Let's find out where we're at. So I'm going to go ahead and start scanning. And we are right at 5,500 grit with this particular finish. So you can see now that is a 5,500 grit finish on this bowling ball. On the other ball, we sand it with a True Cut sanding pad at 1,000 grit using True Cut conditioner. And we're gonna scan it, and we're getting 1,000 grit, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now we're gonna throw the polished ball first, which is the pin down one, see how it rolls now. We'll start in the same spot where we left off, and then we'll switch and throw the sanded ball. So definitely more forward rolling on the end. That was kind of interesting there. I'm curious to see what happens when I get it a little further left, because that definitely rolled a whole lot more forward than I expected. That's left. Yeah, that's what I thought. So the shape is completely different now. The shape now, it's definitely cleaner, which is what you'd expect, but the roll is more this way instead of this way through the pins. What that means is that, one, obviously you'd have to move left, but more importantly, like all that area that I had, that's a wrap. That's gone. I'm gonna make a little bit left. Watch it go forward right there. Yeah, man. So see that? So that's big to know. That's really big to know. So typically, when you polish a ball, you'll get the length, but you'll still get the hook, and it'll just be later. So then you can just take everything, move it a little bit more to the friction, and you're like you were before. That is not the case here. This ball is a whole lot more forward, which means it's not only left, but it's also going to be a lot more square to the pocket. So we're gonna move a lot more left, get a lot more square. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's where you gotta be at, but I'm not a fan of that because that's not gonna strike very often for a long period of time. Okay, fair enough. Let's see what happens when it gets dull. Once again, we'll jump back right and see what happens with some more teeth. So that's kind of more what I'd expect, right? It's just earlier, a little smoother. I would expect that. But that ball did not go forward. Like, it didn't roll forward. It just is earlier. Yeah, but see, there's a flat, and that's normal. Like, the flat 7 is what you would expect because it's earlier. So really, there's a couple things here. One, that 2000 grit definitely, relative to the 1000 or the 5500, is definitely a more usable, right? But if you are, let's say you're more of a speed dominant player, then taking it down to 1000 and getting it earlier is going to be okay. This is acceptable. If you're a slower player, taking it up, I don't know that I would do that because the ball went to go forward more so than anything else. So no, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. That's fine. But that's how you learn, right? That's how you learn. Now you say, well, switch them back, do the other way. There's not really a great reason to do that other than to make the video longer, and we don't need to do that, I don't think, to make the video any longer, but you can kind of see that there definitely is a performance difference, and this ball being dull appears to be superior. That one's in a little bit. Yeah, that was in a little bit. The 1000 grit picks up a little bit earlier, doesn't strike. If I do that with the other ball, it hits the pocket. I don't know that it strikes though. Rolling forward is what you want when you, like, if you're bowling on a sport pattern, something flatter, maybe you want your ball to roll a little forward. Not on this. So now you've got some more information about the Motiv Evoke. You've seen a couple different layouts, a couple different surfaces. Hopefully this video is helpful in a way that is meaningful for you as a player. If you don't mind, hit the like button, share the video, comment. We will respond to the comments that you leave. And this is a completely different format for us. We're actually paying for the balls. We want to make sure that we're able to really give them a once-over, really give them a look at, really give them more in-depth of a review for you, the viewer, to give you more information that makes a decision whether this bowling ball is right for you or maybe the next ball is right for you. Anyway, on behalf of Creating the Difference, I am CEO Ronald Hicklin. Talk to you soon.